Welcome back to the Secret Life of Parkinson's. Today, along with Brian and I, we have a very special guest with us, Matthew Moore. Matthew, thank you so much for coming in.
It's a privilege. Thank you.
I'm really excited to ask Matthew a lot of questions that Brian and I have. Matthew is first, I think, an artist. He's also an educator. He's the founder of Lamp and Light Productions, and he is a producer and playwright and actor in a two-person play about Parkinson's. And that's what we're here to talk about today. But before we get into that, and you're a young-onset Parkinson's patient.
I am. Yes, I am.
So before we get into the meat of what we want to talk about, which is the play, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, artist and educator. So I've taught at the collegiate level for 23 years at Cedarville University and at Moody Bible Institute, and taught theater and communication classes. I directed a lot of plays. And all along, I was sort of an avocational artist. So I'd be in plays downtown Columbus, and I went to Chicago at some point. So I performed in Chicago.
Where?
At various theaters. You know, one of the fun things I did in Chicago was part of a group that said, no director, expert actors in a bar. So there was no director. We had one rehearsal, and we performed Shakespeare in a bar.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it turned out to be one of the best memories I have of
That's
Chicago.
awesome.
For
I love
sure.
Chicago.
Yeah. So I was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2019, and have followed a path. And my experience with medical professionals there sort of led me to write the play. And I just wanted to have a better connection with my neurologist. And I had bad connections with neurologists in Chicago. And I thought, these are important people in my life.
Yeah.
They need to understand where I'm coming from. And I wanted to create something that would better that gap, right? Reduce the gap between patient and doctor so that they understand where I'm coming from.
We talk about that a lot, about the connection between your movement disorder specialist or your neurologist and the patient, making sure that's right. You know, there's so many people we hear story after story of people that just saw their family physician, their general practitioner, and it's just nightmares.
Yeah.
So you started this because of that relationship.
I did.
Wow, that is really interesting.
Yeah.
How but it hasn't happened yet, right?
Right. The premiere of the play is coming up in
Okay.
mid-September, so we're in rehearsals right now. It took me 3 or 4 months to write the play, and we had a workshop of the play, so I got reaction and changed the script and worked on it, revised it, so it's coming around.
And you said it's in September, right? Is it open to the public?
It is. So my primary focus is to get it in front of medical professionals like neurologists and caregivers and therapists. But, part of it is just informing people about Parkinson's.
Yeah.
People know about Alzheimer's typically or dementia more than they do Parkinson's. So part of it is just educating the public. So we are having open to the public performances just before I perform it for neurologists at Ohio Health.
Okay. What's it called?
It's called What I Didn't Say, A Journey Through Parkinson's.
And without, giving away everything, like what are some of the things that you walk through or that the play shows?
Yeah, well, the play is based on interviews. That was important to me, so that it's not just my imagination of what people are thinking and going through. So I interviewed a dozen people and created the script based on those interviews.
Okay.
So it kind of tracks the story of a guy named Paul, and he's sort of a compilation of people that I interviewed and myself. So he just goes through being diagnosed, walking the next steps forward, kind of getting worse as he goes, and I think it dives into, I think doctors are a little incredulous about why people aren't doing what they've been asked to do. Doctor says, do this, right? And people don't always do it. Sometimes they do, but why we don't, you know.
What, like exercise or therapy or?
Well, the anxiety and the depression and being
Yeah.
tired and being fatigued, and, you know, there's a lot of reasons why I should be exercising but choose not to on any given day. And I think neurologists don't hear or understand that necessarily. They don't know the conversations that are going on at home with spouses and partners. And so it's kind of like peering in on the life of someone with Parkinson's for people who just don't have, you know, much orientation to that. Or so.
Are there things that you yourself learned about the disease or with other, you know, people with Parkinson's that you learned along the way as you were putting this together?
Yeah. So I have some basic information like the stages of Parkinson's, and I bring up the pseudo-bulbar effect. Do either of you heard of this? Well, it's a sick and twisted side effect of Parkinson's of uncontrollable crying. Pseudo-bulbar. So I don't know. I just dove into a few things that are, you know, that you would find on the internet. Part of it is people doing research, you know, people in the play researching things online, which is not necessarily the best place to get
a bad place to
information about Parkinson's, but that's what people do, right? You go home and Google something, and next thing you know, you're paying attention to that.
What did you do when you were first diagnosed? And we share the same neurologist. So when she diagnosed you, what did you go home and do?
Well,
or think?
I went home and cried. Yeah, I think I went out in my car and bawled for a little while. But you have to regroup and regather. And I was actually diagnosed in Chicago, and then came to Columbus, and so with Dr. Malone. I had a long talk with my wife, and we decided, you know, this is what it is, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to try to do it together.
Did you know what it was? Like, to your point, like everybody knows Alzheimer's or, you know, other diseases, but did you know?
Well, I went through a lot of testing. You know, at first they didn't think it was Parkinson's because of my age. And
how old were when you get diagnosed?
I was 49.
Okay.
So I went through all the stuff: MRIs, stat scan, PET scan, the neuropsychological exam.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, holy moly.
How long was yours?
3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Makes you feel stupid.
Yeah.
That's like kind of like the same thing that you probably do.
Yeah, when up in Cleveland.
Yeah, before you did your DBS.
Yeah, I didn't do it when I first got diagnosed.
I didn't do it when I got diagnosed either, but last year when I got off of Ropinirole, because it was a bad side effect for me I was getting, and I didn't feel strong with work, and other people were saying, no, you're fine. I told Dr. Malone, I'm like, I want to take this neuropsychology test, or is that what it is? And so it's like the 3 to 4 hour test, similar to probably what you took. Did you do that right at the onset, or did you ask to have that done?
Well, they suspected that I might have dementia as well, and so that's why I took the exam. I actually have a little funny story about that, which is part of the exam is they'll ask you something like, name all the words that you can that start with letter whatever. So she picked F, and since I was a kid, I've told this story that uses all F words, not bad ones, the good ones.
Yeah.
Right? It's the story of the prodigal son, but using only words that start with F. So she said, go ahead and tell me all the words that you know that start with F. And I just started saying the story one word at a time, and she was a little suspicious, particularly when I got to the word farthing, you know. And so I just went through this story one word at a time, and so I just kind of blew out that portion of the neuropsychological exam. Like, I'm good. This guy's so smart. He knows 75 words that start with F.
What is funny though, like just you saying that, I remember at our gym class, Melissa will bring up every once in a while, she'll say, say words that begin with Y, or we would be doing an exercise. And I remember before I got on carbidopa levodopa, I don't know if that is how it got better or not, but I literally would struggle with thinking of like a second word. Yeah. Like, okay, I can think of yellow, but I couldn't think of, like, every time the Y came up again, I'm like, I got nothing. But now I can do much better. So besides the word F or letter F, did you have issues with that, or do you see any improvement?
Yeah, I've taken it twice.
Have you?
And so I scored a little better and a little worse.
Yeah.
It's kind of, we didn't get really clear results out of it.
So going back to the play, what are you hoping that this brings to first the medical community, and then also to just the public?
I think empathy and understanding. So understanding what goes on at home for neurologists and medical professionals to know, oh, this is how this person feels. This is why they're not, I've asked them to find an exercise group, but they don't seem capable of that, or they're not going regularly. So this empathy of it's this whole thing that we all secretly, if we could, magically have someone experience what we're experiencing for 15 minutes, that whole thing. Like, if you just kind of understood and experienced this for just a little while, you would know more.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm trying to do. Of course, that's impossible, but, this is how I feel. Yeah.
And you're part of a Parkinson's exercise and community and stuff like that. So that's a big push that both of us talk about, having those people there to support you and stuff like that. So that's, to me, that was the best thing that happened to me, getting in with both exercise groups and being around people that understand when you say I'm not having a good day, they know what it's like.
Right.
Because, as much as your spouse might try to, she doesn't know what it's like to have a bad day with Parkinson's.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And so those conversations, the way people think and feel, and so it's emotionally honest. I'll tell you that, right? I don't think it's a depressing play. It ends with hope, but it's emotionally honest.
I think it'll be. I was going to say, I think it'll be really good for the extended care partner group. It will be, yeah. Because I know a lot of our friends at the gym that watch the podcast, they're like, I share it with my kids, my relatives, this and that, so that they can get a peek into some of the things that we deal with without me having to say it. So this is the same thing, without somebody having to bog them down all the time with this is how I'm feeling all the time. Right. They can watch it and at least get some sort of clarification. I think the advantage here is that it's art, right? Yeah. Art can be powerful as opposed to a lecture about some aspect of Parkinson's, which of course is fine. But theater is storytelling at its highest degree. And so it can be very powerful. So we were talking beforehand a little bit, and you'd mentioned that you'd received some grants. Yeah, so for partial funding. Partial funding, yeah. So I applied to the GCAC, the Greater Columbus Arts Council, and won a grant there. And then from the Ohio Arts Council, including a grant for Ohioans with disabilities who are artists. So. Yeah, it's great. Those are resources that we didn't even know were out there. That people need to take advantage of. And there's certain parameters, but it's really open for artists with disabilities in particular. So are you still doing, aside from doing this play, are you still working? Are you active in the theater community still, or? Yeah. So I just played a role 2 months ago. So Hamlet. So it was downtown Columbus with the Schiller Park. And so I have a lot of fun. My tremor is pretty significant. And so I have to think carefully about what roles I take, and I always talk to the director ahead of time, like, I have Parkinson's, you need to know that. And so we negotiate that. And the arts community is very open and helping, I think. And so actors with disabilities are welcome. So how did you feel in the beginning telling your directors, when you were diagnosed? Well, it's a big battle, isn't it? Like, do I say this? I've been interviewing for part-time jobs. Like, do I tell these people that I have Parkinson's or don't I? And, what are they going to think about that? Yeah. So, but in the case of
being in a play and playing a role and not always be able to control my tremor, they have to know that.
Yeah.
So, either you're playing a character who has, this Parkinson's symptom, or you can kind of hide it. I've learned some tricks and I can mask it pretty well, but.
Didn't Michael J. Fox, he played a role?
Yeah, he did. He played a role. There was
role?
Yeah, he tried to.
Yeah.
He played a role where the character had Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And if I'm totally honest, and I'll say selfishly, that's one of the reasons I wrote this play, so I can be in a play and still have my Parkinson's symptoms.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter.
No, I mean, I think a lot of us, especially with young onset, choose different paths.
Yeah.
So, I mean, similar with me, I now work part-time. I'm in marketing, but, finding the nonprofit that, a group of us have started to support Parkinson's patients. It's like, that's still like my marketing going that way. And even the podcast, it's giving me an outlet, but now using my disease for
the good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's like weird to say that, but I'm so excited to see this play.
Yeah.
So who's in it with you?
Krista Stauffer, she's a well-known actress in Columbus, and so she plays 5 different roles.
Okay.
Which is a lot of fun for an actor, I think, and so she's enjoying that process. Although, we talked about her playing the role of a Parkinson's patient and decided not to do that. She just wasn't comfortable saying, I just don't want to portray, and so I
we don't want an imposter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understood where she was coming from.
If you need anybody, I did take an acting class in college.
I heard about that. That's good. And I teach acting too, so
you can
come take one of my classes.
Things, yeah. So are you on any medication, or do you?
Yeah, plenty.
Okay.
Rasagiline and Mirapex and Cinemet.
Okay. So at least you feel like you're somewhat in control a little bit with the symptoms.
Yeah. My particular thing, to this day, I still don't have the on-offs that are real clear.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like medication's helping my tremor hardly at all. I mean, sometimes in the morning, I take it in the morning, and I think, oh, that's better than, 5 minutes ago when I was still in bed.
See, I've never had the tremors, but I was diagnosed in 2015 at the age of 40. And same thing, I didn't know on and off for the first couple of years. People talk about an off time. And I was like, now, if I don't take my medication, I definitely know this at all.
So how many years would that be?
2015, the first probably 3 or 4 years, I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
But as the disease progressed, like I said, I would notice all of a sudden, like I would be like, oh no, I didn't take my medicine.
Do you take your medication at the same time every day?
No.
That's your problem. Okay, so I did a little segment on this because I remember coming in to see Dr. Malone one time, and I was telling her my symptoms of what things felt like, and she's like, so when are you taking them? I'm like, well, with breakfast, so around, it could be around 7, or like lunch, but it could be any time between like 12 and 2. And she's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
She's like, you're not taking this at the same time every day? And I'm like, well, around the same time. She's like 7, 11, 3, and now I take one at 7 o'clock. She's like, so I set an alarm. And that made a huge difference.
Did it?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So
in your tremor?
Yes. Okay. Tremor, and then I have like my foot like always gets rigidity and tension and stuff like that. But I noticed like a cleaner or smoother day. I don't know. It just. But again, I'm like you. I don't always see like the complete on off. Like I do more so now than I have before. But take it at the same time every day.
Wow. I have to try that. It's the half-hour protein thing that throws me off.
I never pay attention.
I know.
Like, when am I going to eat? And then now I got to do a half hour after or before.
That's what I always struggled with too. And some, we've had some doctors say like, I think it's more important to take it on time, right? Than with the protein thing. Yeah, you're the doctor.
I know a lot about it.
All I know is if you can take it with a tall glass of water so that it gets through your system. They just say not to have that much protein around it just so it can digest faster.
Right.
So, but try taking it at the same time.
Yeah, okay. I seriously, I need
we're
to do
helping
that.
people one by one.
Yeah, you are.
Sorry, did you have something?
No, I don't.
Okay. So again, the play, you're doing it a one-time deal in Columbus?
We're doing it twice.
Okay.
September 16 and September 17.
Okay.
Sorry, Friday and Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday nights at 7 o'clock and Saturday at 2. And tickets are pay what you will, sort of donation at the door.
Okay.
So if you want to come for free, you can come for free.
Because you just did this all on your own, right?
I did.
With the grants.
Yeah, with the grants. So I still have things I need to pay for. But yeah, I wanted to do it for the community and yeah, I want people just to know and understand more. The greatest thing that could come of it would be talking points of just like, what he said, do you really feel that? Or what she said, do you feel that? And, you know, for people to connect on a really deep level, emotionally,
Yeah.
help understand each other, I think is important.
Well, I'd love to keep talking, you know, throughout the course of how your play is going, because the reason why we wanted to do this podcast was for the very same reason of bringing awareness to all different aspects, like all different patients. Everybody experiences different emotions or physical things, the medication, the everything. And so how do we make sure people are educated about that, but then how they can also help themselves?
Right.
So even like what you're doing, it'll be a great social network. And that's something I keep reading about, is how important, you know, exercise is huge. And alongside that is being social.
Yeah.
So having a network and of people who you trust, who will listen to you, that you can listen to them. And I think that that's going to go a long way too. But I can't wait to see it. I'm so excited.
And part of the performance is a talkback, which is a fancy theater term for a discussion. So
Oh, yeah?
the play is only 45 minutes long.
Okay.
And so there'll be 20 minutes of sort of a guided discussion for people to talk about the play and
Wow.
the themes. And
You can talk, Jess. You don't have to just sit there.
Thanks. For people like me. No, that's great.
Well, that's the point, for people to
Yeah.
have a talking point, literally.
Anything else that you'd like to share at this point, or?
No, come and support the play, and it's at a wonderful location in Hilliard, and I appreciate people's support.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to hear more. Again, like maybe after the play we can get together and see how things went.
Well, you need to hear the parable in F sometime. The story with all the F words.
That is, I love it. I gotta tell my kids that, because they're like, F words. Always have to be careful with 12-year-olds.
None of the bad ones.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it even better. Well, thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
I just like to wrap up and share with everybody, we're going to have available the dates and the location for those who are in Columbus that can hopefully catch this wonderful play, and hopefully we will hear more from you and we can share more as we continue to learn more. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.